In the crucible of combat, where steel meets flesh and the bravest of men are tested, a new kind of warrior emerged, forged from the very fabric of chaos. Their arsenal was cobbled together from scraps, fashioned from the most mundane of objects, and imbued with a deadly precision. They were the masters of improvised warfare, the alchemists of the battlefield, who could transform the ordinary into the extraordinary, and the harmless into the horrific. We're about to delve into a world where soldiers, driven by desperation and creativity, turned the most unlikely of tools into instruments of war. Water pipes, discarded machinery, and even household items became the building blocks of a new kind of artillery, one that defied the conventional rules of engagement and left its mark on the modern battlefield. In the dusty trenches of Iraq, the blood-soaked streets of Afghanistan, and the ravaged cities of Syria, a new breed of soldier rose to prominence, the improvised explosive device expert. These were the sons of innovation, the daughters of necessity, who wove a web of death from the very infrastructure of the enemy's territory. Theirs was a war of asymmetry, where the conventional rules of combat were turned on their head, and the art of warfare was rewritten in the blood of the innocent. In this journey, we'll uncover the stories of the men and women who pioneered this new kind of warfare, and the technologies that enabled them to unleash a maelstrom of destruction upon their enemies. We'll examine the psychology of the IED expert, the tactics of the insurgents, and the strategies of the countermeasures. We'll venture into the darkest corners of the human heart, where the boundaries between soldier and civilian, combatant and non-combatant, are constantly blurred. This is the story of how soldiers turned water pipes into deadly mortars, and how the very fabric of modern warfare was forever changed in the process. It's a tale of ingenuity, of desperation, and of the unyielding human spirit, which seeks to adapt, to innovate, and to survive, no matter the cost. Imagine an army so starved, so bereft of conventional firepower, that it resorts to the unthinkable, plumbing the depths of desperation. Their name was the Viet Cong, a guerrilla force born from the ashes of North Vietnamese defeat, forged in the crucible of jungle warfare. For years, they had battled the behemoth that was the American military, and for years, they had been outgunned, outmanned, and out-equipped. But amidst the ruins of a war that seemed lost from the outset, a glimmer of hope flickered to life. In the dense, steamy jungles of South Vietnam, a small band of Viet Cong soldiers stumbled upon an unlikely source of inspiration. The humble water pipe, once used to quench the thirst of villagers. These pipes now became the unlikely precursors to a new, twisted art form, one that would unleash a maelstrom of terror upon the American military. It started with a simple, almost childlike notion. What if they could turn these pipes into mortars? The very idea seemed preposterous, yet it held the promise of a desperate, last-ditch bid for survival. As the Viet Cong experimented with these makeshift mortars, they began to grasp the sheer, unadulterated power that lay within their grasp. They fashioned crude, jury-rigged launchers from scraps of metal, fashioned from discarded ordnance and scavenged machinery. And with each successive test, the sound of shattering earth, the screams of the wounded, and the stench of burning flesh all served as a grim reminder. In the depths of war, even the most outlandish ideas can become deadly realities. The birth of the pipe mortar marked the beginning of a new era in guerrilla warfare, one in which the rules of conventional combat were shattered, and the very notion of what it meant to be an enemy soldier was forever rewritten. In the unforgiving crucible of war, where survival is a fleeting luxury and death lurks in every shadow, the most unlikely of heroes emerged, untrained, untested, and yet, armed with an unquenchable thirst for victory. They would unleash a terror unlike any the world had ever known. From the depths of a ravaged city, a peculiar arsenal was born. The discarded remnants of a bygone era, once meant to quench the thirst of the innocent, now held the power to unleash a maelstrom of destruction. Water pipes, those humble, serpentine conduits of life-giving water, were transformed into instruments of war, their once peaceful purpose a mere memory, as they were repurposed to carry a different kind of liquid, one that would soon be coursing through the veins of the enemy like a deadly crimson river. Soldering, welding, and jury-rigging, the soldiers toiled through the night, their hands moving with a newfound purpose as they crafted their monstrous creations. The pipes, now mortars, stood like sentinels, ready to unleash their fury upon the unsuspecting. In the dimly lit workshops, the air was thick with the smell of metal and sweat, the sound of hammers ringing out against metal, a rhythmic beat that echoed through the desolate streets, as the soldiers worked tirelessly to create an arsenal unlike any other. And yet, amidst the chaos and the carnage, a sense of pride and purpose emerged. These makeshift mortars, born from the discarded remnants of a bygone era, would soon become the stuff of legend, their destructive power a testament to the ingenuity and determination of those who wielded them. In the shadows of war, where the rules were made to be broken, and the strong preyed upon the weak, a new kind of warrior emerged, one who would turn the very instruments of life into instruments of death, and redefine the face of warfare forever. Deep within the trenches, a cold, calculating ingenuity took hold. Men with little more than a few scraps of metal, some wire, and a spark of creativity began to weave a sinister tapestry of war. They called it the Molotov cocktail's precursor. But the true horror unfolded in the firing mechanism of a most unexpected invention. The water pipe mortar. It was an impromptu symphony of DIY genius, born from the darkest recesses of desperation. A hasty fusion of salvaged parts, jury-rigged to unleash a maelstrom of destruction upon the unsuspecting enemy. The firing mechanism, a Rube Goldberg contraption of twisted metal and makeshift pulleys, was the brainchild of soldiers who had mastered the art of improvisation. In the stifling heat of the trenches, they toiled, their sweat-drenched brows furrowed in concentration as they crafted this Frankenstein's monster of a mortar. The pipe, once a mere plumbing fixture, now stood as a death-dealing behemoth, its metal throat yawning open like the jaws of a predator. With each passing night, the firing mechanism took shape, a testament to the resourceful ingenuity of men pushed to the very limits of human endurance. They cobbled together a system of levers, pulleys, and triggers, a Rube Goldberg-esque ballet of steel and wire that would soon unleash a torrent of terror upon the battlefield. As the first test shots echoed through the night air, the soldiers watched with a mix of awe and trepidation, their hearts pounding in unison with the thud of the pipe's metal heart. They knew they had created something monstrous, a device that would soon be unleashed upon the world, leaving a trail of destruction and despair in its wake. Little did they know, the true horror was only just beginning. In the darkest corners of the world, where the rule of law is a distant memory and the sounds of war echo through the night, a quiet revolution has unfolded. The guerrilla's art of improvisation, born from necessity and fueled by desperation, has given rise to an unlikely arsenal. The humble water pipe. From the mountainous peaks of Afghanistan to the jungles of Colombia, we find ourselves in the midst of a guerrilla war, where the conventional rules of combat no longer apply. Here, the enemy is not just an opposing force, but the very terrain itself, and the only advantage lies in the ability to adapt. In the early 2000s, as the US-led coalition struggled to quell the insurgency in Afghanistan, a new threat emerged from the shadows. The Improvised Explosive Device, or IED, disguised as a harmless water pipe. These deadly mortars would become the scourge of urban warfare, claiming countless lives and testing the mettle of even the most seasoned troops. We see it in the ravaged streets of Helmand province, where a single blast can turn a day of routine patrols into a desperate bid for survival. We hear the whispers of local fighters, their voices laced with a mix of fear and defiance, as they reveal the secrets of their deadly craft. "We would dig a hole, place the pipe in it, and cover it with dirt and rocks," a former Taliban fighter recalls. "When the Americans came by, we would detonate it, and they would think it was a natural gas pipe that had exploded." In the midst of this chaos, a peculiar hero emerged, an American soldier, who, against all odds, would help to turn the tide of the war. His name was Sergeant First Class Dan Carpenter, a master of EOD, or explosive ordnance disposal, with a deep understanding of the enemy's tactics. Sergeant Carpenter and his team would venture into the heart of darkness, seeking out the hidden water pipes that had become the guerrillas' deadliest secret. Each mission a high-stakes game of cat and mouse, where the slightest miscalculation could prove fatal. As we delve deeper into the world of guerrilla warfare, one thing becomes clear: the water pipe, once a symbol of domestic routine, has become a potent symbol of resistance, a testament to the human spirit's capacity for resilience and innovation in the face of overwhelming odds. The question remains, however, what other secrets lie hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered? The answer, much like the water pipe itself, is shrouded in mystery, its true nature only revealed to those who dare to venture into the heart of the unknown. In the depths of a conflict where civilians and combatants blur, where the lines between friend and foe are forever etched, we find ourselves at the crossroads of a most dire consequence: the makeshift mortars fashioned by soldiers from water pipes, a testament to the desperation that fuels war's darkest corners. Here, the human cost of these ramshackle cannons is revealed, a toll that echoes through the desolate landscapes of a ravaged world. In the dusty streets of Fallujah, in the ravaged alleys of Gaza, the cries of the fallen resonate, a chilling reminder of the price paid by those who dare to resist the once quaint neighborhoods, now scarred by the relentless drumbeat of war. Bear witness to the unyielding resolve of those who've been forced to fight. As the mortars fire, their explosive fury shatters lives, shatters families, and shatters the very fabric of a community. The innocent, caught in the crossfire, are reduced to shattered remnants, their futures forever altered by the whims of war. A mother's desperate cry, a child's anguished wail, a father's futile attempt to shield his loved ones from the horrors that surround them, these are the human tolls that the makeshift mortars exact. We see the mangled bodies, the blood-stained streets, the eerie silence that follows the final, fatal blow. We hear the haunting tales of survivors, their voices forever etched in our collective memory. We witness the unforgiving landscape of war, where even the most basic necessities, water, shelter, and safety, become luxuries that few can afford. And yet, even in the midst of such devastation, we find the unbreakable human spirit, a spirit that refuses to be extinguished, a spirit that yearns for peace, for justice, and for the end of the endless cycle of violence that has consumed so many lives. As the echoes of gunfire still lingered, a new kind of terror began to spread, one that would freeze the hearts of those who dared to venture into the streets. It started with the simple, the mundane, and the ubiquitous, the water pipes that crisscrossed the city like a web of steel and concrete. But these were no ordinary pipes, for they had been transformed into instruments of war, into mortars that rained down death and destruction upon the unsuspecting populace. It was a tactic born of desperation, of a people pushed to the brink of madness by the relentless onslaught of the enemy. But as the days passed, and the water pipes continued to rain down their deadly payload. A new kind of psychological warfare emerged. The people, already living in a state of perpetual fear, began to cower behind their walls, too afraid to venture out into the streets for fear of being caught in the crossfire. The fear was palpable, a living, breathing entity that seemed to seep into every pore of the city. It was a fear that was not just of death, but of the unknown, of the unpredictable. The water pipes, once a symbol of safety and security, had become a constant reminder of the terror that lurked in every corner. And yet, it was not just the civilians who were affected. The soldiers, too, were caught in the web of fear and intimidation. They, too, lived with the knowledge that at any moment, the water pipes could spring to life, raining down death and destruction upon their comrades. The psychological impact was immense, a constant pressure that weighed heavily on their minds. It was a war of nerves, a war of wills, and a war of the human spirit. The water pipes had become a symbol of the enemy's power, of their ability to strike at any moment, and from any direction. And as the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into months, the people began to realize that this was a war that would be fought not just on the battlefield, but in the depths of their own minds. As the dust settles, and the echoes of war fade into silence, we're left to ponder the unyielding spirit of those who fought in the trenches. It's a testament to the indomitable human will to survive, to persevere, and to find ways to overcome the unimaginable odds stacked against them. In the depths of despair, they discovered a way to turn the very infrastructure of their surroundings into instruments of war. Water pipes, initially meant to quench the thirst of weary soldiers, were repurposed as makeshift mortars, sending shrapnel and chaos into the enemy's ranks. But this ingenuity wasn't born out of malice or hate. It was forged in the crucible of desperation, where the lines between life and death were constantly blurred. It was a desperate attempt to even the odds, to level the playing field, and to ensure that the fight wasn't one-sided. As we reflect on the bravery of those who fought in the trenches, we're reminded that even in the darkest of times, there's always a spark of hope, a spark that flickers with every act of defiance, every act of ingenuity, and every act of resilience. Their stories serve as a powerful reminder of the boundless potential that lies within us all. The potential to